Hello and well met, fellow gamers. This is Founder Rune. I'm here with Fantasy Grounds Academy. Today I'm going to do part 3 of the Lost Mine of Phandelver battle. Kind of broke it up into 3 parts for a couple reasons. One, so that the videos aren't too long. The other is because I always have things coming up, so I have to kind of quit them early. But I'm going to hopefully wrap this up today. We had some serious injuries going on with Sildar and Gundren, and now the horses... Looks like Gundren fumbled the roll on the animal handling check, so we'll see how that goes. But the horses took off, and they went in the direction of the goblins instead of away from the battle. So I have a feeling that this is going to be their demise, because when you come to this point in the adventure module for Lost Mine of Phandelver, you find the 2 dead horses. So I think this is a really good segue into that. This is how it happened. Gundren tried to bring them under control when the goblins attacked, and Sildar went to face the goblins, but he ends up being a pincushion for the archers. And now the melee fighters have come forward. Meanwhile, they have a little sneaky spy out there. He's a little Goblin Runt that's hiding in the woods. He's not really even participating. He's just there for roleplay purposes. But I'm going to play the rest of this battle out and see what happens. This, again, is Lost Mine of Phandelver. The lead up to the adventure. Basically, the patrons Gundren and Sildar Hallwinter are a day to a day and a half ahead of the party members heading to Phandalin. They get jumped by some goblins on the way there. Probably the same goblins that ambush the players, at least a couple of them. And there are probably some fresh troops in there, but nonetheless, they're there to harass people along the road. So they're going to basically encounter 4 goblins on their way there. So maybe this will help fill in the blanks as to what actually happened to Sildar and Gundren. Gundren Rockseeker is a dwarven NPC that basically could be related to one of the pre-gen characters if you play those. And then Sildar is a member of one of the factions in the Forgotten Realms. He's looking into things, and he's interested in the safety and well-being of his friends and also of the town of Phandalin. So without further ado, let's take a look. So normally when you start up Fantasy Grounds, this is what you'll get. You would just have a kind of a blank palette. I have a run sheet that I use. So I bring this up right before my game. This will bring up the 2 characters. I have them linked here. I'm going to open up the combat tracker. And on the combat tracker, I have all the different things that are linked to this combat in this little area where the character sheets are. So if I just click on these little squares on the right-hand side, there might be a button or a dragon head, depending on your interface. But these are basically the combatants and the NPCs that are participating in this combat. Now, if you don't know where your map went, or if you forgot to save it, you can click on a map and it will bring it up. So this is basically a link that I've made to the actual battle map. I put it on my run list. It's taken it a minute to load up because it's a pretty good sized map. But basically, you just leave everything up and you work in layers. So that really helps. And then now we left off at this Goblin Blade here, so if I really want to see what's going on and I want to know where the map is if you didn't have a link handy or if you forgot to shortcut it, you can double-click on a token in the combat tracker and it should bring forward the map that you're on, or at least bring it up. That's usually how people, when they lose track of the map, if you double-click on your token, and the last map you were on, or excuse me, yeah, the last map you're on will come up. I already have it up, but I'm just letting you know that that's one way you can recall the map if you forget. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up the map again. So this is the scenario that's played out here. So the Goblin Blade, this guy here was getting ready to attack Sildar. So I'd have to go through my logs again to see what actually happened. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just perform an attack roll, even if I already had one. I don't remember where I left off, but basically this is combat that's in the middle of it, and these two goblins have moved up on Sildar. He's wounded, or no, he's not wounded, but he's going to be overwhelmed if he's not careful. So he's trying to protect Gundren and the horses, but obviously the horses took off. So this goblin here is going to basically take the initiative here. He's going to take his scimitar and he's going to try to run it through Sildar. So I'm going to just grab this ATK +4 on the scimitar in the combat tracker. There's a little shortcut, and if you hover your cursor over there, it'll turn into a hand. So just left click and drag, and I'm going to drop it on Sildar. So he takes the scimitar, he swings it, and Sildar is able to sidestep it. So the little vicious little scimitar blade just kind of goes whisking by him. So he was able to get away from that attack. So that's basically the goblin's turn. So now I'm going to go down here again to Gundren. So Gundren has basically been pretty useless in this combat. So I think to be smart so that he'll survive, I'm going to do the dodge action. So dodge would give him basically advantage if someone attacks him. So this can be coded, or you can just use it up here in the top right. There's an effects button. If you click that, there's a dodge action, and you just drag it over if you have it coded in here. So dodge is not a condition, but it does modify combat. So if you have a coding for it, so basically it's just dodge that's put on yourself. So I'm going to click on that button, and you can also type it, and if you edit the effects, you can type dodge in there, and then D1, which is 1 round. So he's going to dodge. He's just going to try to stay out of the way. I think he will move 1 square over, or maybe 2, to kind of get out of the line of sight of these archers. So I'm going to hold down the Alt key as the Game Master and move his token. I'll move him right there, and he's basically going to hide. So he's kind of hiding behind the trees. On the next round, I'm going to have him duck down and try to hide, but he's just moved over, and he's basically trying to dodge. So if anyone shoots at him, he'll have a pretty good chance of not getting hit. Okay, Sildar, bringing him back up. So Sildar he's exhausted most of his special abilities, except for his combat superiority. So he could do a disarming attack, but I think at this point, since he's really, basically been harassed by 2 people now, he's kind of hard to disarm them, but it would be a good tactic. So I could perform that, but I think I'll wait until he starts taking more damage. So I'm going to go ahead and drag the blade over to the goblins. Now he's using a shield. If he wasn't using a shield, I could change the longsword to 2-handed, and it would do more damage. The problem is, though, that you're not supposed to benefit from the shield bonus. So you have to come to your inventory, and you'd have to unequip the shield, or you can make an effect on your sheet if you know how to do it, and basically negate the shield bonus. So he does have a shield, I believe. Let me double check. So no, he doesn't have a shield. Interesting. Okay, so I'm going to switch that over to 2-handed since he's not using a shield. I don't see any. He's got chainmail, but no shield. So I'm going to go to his actions tab, and I'm going to change this to basically to 2-hand. So now if he does an attack, it's going to do more damage. So he's going to grab the pommel and with 2 hands and just kind of wail on this other goblin. So we'll see what happens. So I'm going to drag and drop this on the goblin. And this time he definitively takes a big swing and he bites down into the goblin's shoulder blade. I mean, the blade really just kind of goes in and just almost severs his arm off. But let's see what kind of damage. So I'm going to drag the damage over to on top of the goblin, or you can also drag it over here. So this is Goblin Blade 1. So if I dropped it here, it would do the same thing. And it looks like it did heavy damage to that guy, so it hurt pretty bad. So it just kind of cut down to the bone, and he kind of wails and pain, goes, ah! So that's basically his reaction. Sorry about the the corny sounds, but that's the fun of this game. So the Goblin Runt is basically hiding out. He's not going to do anything, but just kind of watch what happens, the battle. He's unsure of himself. He's not very confident, and he's scared, so he's just going to stay there. Kind of got him there for story reasons, because later on, I think this Runt is part of the 4 people that attack the heroes when they come through here the next day. So we'll see. So I'm going to drop this down. So there's the archer. So if I click on the token, I take possession of the archer. And right now, the archer has basically targeted Sildar, and he has to shoot through these 2 horses. So I'm going to have him untarget Sildar. So you do that by holding the control key and clicking on your last target, and that removes the the line of sight arrow and also the targeting. He's going to target this horse since it's coming right at him, and I'm going to let loose the arrow. So I'm just going to double click since the horse is targeted now. And as you can see in the combat tracker, it says targets riding horse 2. So I'm going to just double click here. And he missed. So it flies right through the horse's legs and falls harmlessly along the trail. And he kind of curses at himself for his bad luck. So the next goblin that goes is this one here. And as you move through your combat, you'll notice that these get highlighted, so you'll know which combatant you're on. There is a setting where it will move to the combatant, but you can turn that on or off. Sometimes that's annoying. So this is a counterattack by this wounded goblin. So I think to be smart about this, I'm going to have him do a nimble escape. So he's going to disengage as a bonus action, and he's going to go into the woods, basically. So he doesn't suffer any opportunity attack. So I'm going to go ahead and hold the Alt key. So he can move to about here when he starts hitting rough terrain. So he's going to head up back into the woods. And that's his turn. So he's wounded, so he doesn't want to die. So he's basically getting the heck out of Dodge. Literally. Okay, so the riding horse, this one here, riding horse number 1, is trying to kind of blow through here. Well, he can, but if he runs next to the goblins, he might suffer an opportunity attack, depending on what's going on. So I'm going to hold down the Alt key, and I'm going to do the dash maneuver, which will allow him to move through here fairly quickly. Okay, he suffers from 2 opportunity attacks. So when the horse went by this archer, the archer stuck his blade out. So I double click on his token, brings up his stat block, and if I need to perform an attack, I can do so right off the sheet, or I can do it from the combat tracker. It's better to do it from the combat tracker, but you can also do it off the sheet as long as it's linked to that character. In this case, it is. So I'm going to go ahead and take this opportunity attack. So if I go up to the plus and minus modifiers, there is a shortcut key, but you can click opportunity, and then I'm going to take the action of the scimitar and drag it onto the horse. And it's going to be done twice, but not by the same guy. Luckily, he missed. So when he pulled out his blade when the horse ran by, and the horse basically missed the blade. However, this other guy does the same thing. So that horse tries to run away, and he also pulls out his scimitar because they want the loot on the horses. So they don't want the horses to get away. So that's why they're attacking the horses, in case anyone wanted to know. So there, we're going to drag and drop this onto the horse. This is an attack roll. Again, it's a miss. So I can't believe that, but they had 2 opportunity attacks on this horse, and they missed. Okay, so the next horse is going to do the same thing, but he's leaving the... Basically, he's going to have 3 opportunity attacks on him, because he's just plowing through everyone. He's trying to get the heck out of here. It's not really doing anything planned. It's pretty much reckless abandon. So he gets 2 opportunity attacks on him since he ran through these goblins. This one didn't have a chance, but these other 2 did. So this one also took his blade out, and he tried to run it across the horse as it was running by. So I'm going to simulate that. So I'm going to take the melee attack, drop it on the horse. And remember, this is an opportunity attack. So I'm going to click that and drop that on the horse. So let's see. Can't believe these horses are making it through. It's going to ruin my story because they're not dying. So I have this horse running through here that he's making it through. He's basically blowing right by all these people that are trying to get at him. That's funny. So yeah, so both of these goblins missed. Well, there's one more attack that needs to be made, but still, that's freaking crazy. So I'll try it again. So one last attack, opportunity attack. This time the goblin strikes. He basically times his blade because he just stuck it out, and the horse kind of runs by, and it basically slices itself all the way down its side. So let's see how much damage that the blade does to this horse. So it hurt the horse pretty bad. It whinnies in pain. It's kind of so it's hurting. So it's got a big gash on the side of it, and blood spilling out of it. So it's pretty gnarly. Okay, so the Goblin Arrows guy, this guy, since he sees that Sildar is held up, he's going to turn and shoot at the riding horse because he's kind of mad that he missed. So this time I'm going to target the riding horse, and he already has riding horse number 2, but I want to switch targets. So to do that, I want to hold down the control key and click on riding horse 2 to basically to get rid of the targeting. So I want to go to this goblin, and then I'm going to hold down the right control key and click on the target, which was number 2, and I'm going to switch it to number 1. So now he's going to basically double click is what I'm going to do on the short bow. He rolled a 1. So he loses his turn for the round, and he drops his bow, and his arrow kind of just whiffs falls like 5 feet in front of him. So maybe the string hit him on the arm. So he's hurting. So he's frustrated and yelling and jumping up and down. Okay, so this archer is actually going to shoot at Sildar. So I'm going to hold down the right control key and click on Sildar's token on the battle map. So first I'm selecting the Goblin Arrows 2, and then I'm going to hold the right control key and click on Sildar. So it's important that you select the token first, and then you target, because it doesn't know which one you're on, even though in the combat tracker it shows the turn. But if you don't have the token selected, it's not going to target. So you have to select your NPC token and then hold down the right control key and target. So as you can see, it's 20 feet away. There's plenty of should be able to make it. So I'm going to double click on the attack roll, and he missed. So I think Sildar kind of moved, and it flew over his shoulder or something like that while he was fighting this other goblin. So that's his turn. So they're all kind of upset right now. Okay, so the Goblin Blade number 2 is right next to Sildar. He is going to take a swing. He's a little bit upset that his friend left, but there ain't much he can do about it. So, and he also missed. So Sildar was able to parry his blow, the scimitar. He swung it kind of wide, and the Sildar took his long blade. He has it in 2 hands, and he kind of rose it up to block it. So I think as he was doing that, the arrow flew over his shoulder. So he's got a lot of action going on. So as I said, Gundren's going to hide if he can. So he is going to go to his skills area, and I'm going to roll stealth, even though he's not very proficient with it. The goblins have a passive perception of 9. So if he can roll over a 9, he's pretty well hidden. However, he doesn't know that this Goblin Runt is over here, so we'll see what happens there. So the Gundren is going to basically roll and see if he can beat the 9, and then I'll just kind of keep that in my mind mentally. So I'm going to have him drag and drop this skill check into the dice tower. Now, he rolled a 1. He had a penalty because he was basically trying to dodge, I think. So he like jumped into the bushes and crashed and made a bunch of noise. So now the Runt sees him. So the Runt knows he's over there. I mean, he heard him. He doesn't know. He doesn't actually see him through all the trees, but he knows he's over there. So by sound and by movement. So that's interesting. Okay, Sildar. So Sildar is holding his own. He hasn't given up his morale just yet. I think he's going to just kind of execute another attack. Let's see if he can actually land it this time. So I'm going to drag and drop the attack roll on top of the Goblin in the map. And he did a very aggressive power move. He did like a feint, and then he turned around and he turned the blade over and just kind of angled it down on this Goblin's head. So let's see what kind of damage. So this time he was successful. The blade just severs right through the Goblin's neck, severs it all the way down, almost all the way through, and the Goblin just kind of slumps to the ground. So in this state, you can see this Z means he's unconscious. He's not going to have anyone available to heal him, so I'll remove him from the combat tracker to make it easier. So in the combat tracker, it shows him unconscious. He has 3 wounds versus 3 hit points. And there's this little red delete item, so I'm just going to double click that, and that gets rid of his token. So he's dead. Now, if you want to remember where he was, technically you can right click on the map, go to drawing mode, and you can put an X there. So you remember where he went down. And then just right click, go to drawing mode, and then exit. So you can draw little notes on here if you have to. So that's where that Goblin went down. Alright, so going to the next, the Goblin Runt. Okay. So the little Runt, he's going to move through the woods cautiously, so he's only going to be able to move 15 feet. So I'm going to drag his token. So I want to select it. And that's what he sees, basically. And so you can't really see the Gundren very well, but he heard him. So he's going to get a little closer to see what it was. So he's going to move stealthily through the bushes and trees. So I'm going to make his move 15 feet, holding down the Alt key. So he basically moved 15 feet. I'm going to roll his ability, which is stealth. They have a +6. Now he rolled an 8. So Gundren probably hears him. So they both are aware of each other's presence. So that's going to be interesting. So the little Goblin's trying to sneak up on him, and he's trying to hide. That's pretty comical, actually. So Goblin number 3 is sitting up here next to the horses. He is going to turn... The horse is there. He's going to turn around and try to stab or shoot the horse. So he had his bow out. I think it makes more sense, but it's almost point blank. So I might give him disadvantage on it. I don't know, but anyways, I'll just give it to him. No big deal. So I'm going to go ahead and roll. I'm just going to... see, he's got the other one targeted, so I want to first take a hold of his token or take possession of it, and then I'm going to hold down the control key and click on his first target, and then click on his next target, which is the horse. So it's less than 5 feet away from him. He just kind of turns around really quickly and lets an arrow go. So all I have to do now, since the horse is actually targeted, is just double click on the attack roll. And he missed. So he probably shot under its belly or over the top, or maybe he didn't pull it right. I don't know, but he missed. So that sucked. All right, so Goblin Blade number 1, the guy that ran because he was wounded, he's taken off more. So he's leaving. So he's going to head back to camp. He's injured. So I'm just going to move him another 15 feet away. So you take possession of the token, hold down the Alt key, and move the token, and then you approve the movement. So that ends his turn. So the riding horse is losing a lot of blood, but he's still got quite a few hit points. He ends up changing direction. So he comes up and he hears the little goblin that was sneaking around. Because he was going to come around this corner and basically, hide or move on to the trail. But since the little goblin was over there, and he doesn't see it, but he can smell him, he knows he's there. So what I think is going to happen is basically the runt is indirectly scaring the horse. The runt is right here. I'm going to go ahead and make him visible so it's easier to see him now. It's pretty much people know where he's at. So the horse, you heard him kind of crashing around in the bushes, kind of spooked him. So I'm going to roll. If the horse rolls under this 10 or under, or maybe even 8 or under, basically he's scared, so he'll run in a different direction. Otherwise, he'll stay in that basic direction. So I'm going to go ahead and roll a check. All right, so he failed the check. I mean, he rolled over. No, so that's a pass, actually. So he did not change direction. However, he does stop because he is basically wounded. He's kind of, I want to say stunned because of that big long gash on him. And in doing so, the other horse behind him runs into him. So it doesn't happen very often, but he came to a screeching halt after he received that damage. So the horse behind him is basically going to run into him. So they're both going to be prone at this point if it makes its... I'm going to make some kind of check here, so it's just not adjudicating that they both fall. So what I'll do is I'll make a dex check on the horse here, and then I will see if he's able to avoid the collision. So he just has to roll a 10 or higher, basically. Oh my god, he rolled a 20. Not only did he avoid the attack, but the horse that was following him was able to run past him without any problems. So these guys are not cooperating with my story narrative. So the horses are basically leaving the map at this point, which is really hilarious. So the Goblin Arrows number... I want to say 1, he sees this, and he's going to take a bow shot at him. Now, this horse is going to be further out of range, but I can't really emulate that, so I just have to kind of guess. So I take possession of the goblin, hold down the right control key, and this time, instead of the first, or the Riding Horse 1, he's going to go back to targeting Riding Horse 2. But then the horse is in his way, so it's really not any benefit to doing that. So he's just going to go back to his original target. So I'm just going to double-click on the attack roll. And he misses. What the hell? So basically, these guys are outgunning these arrow launcher guys here. So this guy is going to shoot at Sildar. He notices that he's free now. So he's already got him targeted. So I'm going to double click and let the arrow fly. This time, Sildar takes a hit to the side, and the short bow does. Ouch. So Sildar took a nice wound to the side, and he's sitting there kind of grimacing in pain as a little arrow sticks out of him. Gundren is staying put. However, he hears a little goblin crashing in the woods. So he has his miner's pick ready to go. And he doesn't have a really good way to see anything. And I'm going to open up this terrain for him so he can see. And then I'm going to drag and drop his light source. So it's hard for him to see in these woods. But he does have dark vision. So he should be okay, but you can't see through trees, so the visibility is still very poor. So he hears the goblin moving, doesn't really do anything other than set his feet, and then he gets ready to, take on whatever comes at him. So he's just waiting. He's going to pass his turn, but his wait is going to be ready action. It's just a note. He's going to ready his miner's pick, and if anyone comes near him that looks hostile, he's going to smack him. So he's declaring a ready action. All right, Sildar. So he's like not sure at this point if he should follow through with these goblins or not. So I think he's going to take the dodge action and go check on Gundren. So I'm going to go to his character sheet, click dodge, and I'm going to move his movement rate. So I'm going to hold down the Alt key. And I'm only holding it down because I'm the DM. Players don't have to. So he comes over this way and he's like, Gundren, are you okay? Gundren's like, why did you come over here? You're silly, human. You're giving up my location. And Sildar says, I don't think you're too well unnoticed right now. And he goes, well, protect yourself. Don't worry about me. And he goes, well, I am protecting myself, so I'm getting out of the sight of those archers. So they're basically bickering, or not really bickering, but discussing what they're going to do next. So the Goblin Runt continues his little movement here. So I'll roll stealth again because he thinks he's sneaking around. So I'm going to double click on his token, bring up his stealth roll. This time he seems to be moving a lot quieter. He doesn't make a lot of noise, not crunching on branches or crashing through things. So I'm going to have him move 15 feet. I'm going to hold the Alt key. So that's his movement. So archer number 3 is going to take out a scimitar and hack away at this riding horse. They don't want the horses to get away because they want whatever's in the saddlebags. So he's going to take his scimitar out and swat at the horse. And he's able to connect on the back of the horse's flank, so that probably hurt. So I'm going to drag and drop this damage on the horse. And the horse is taking heavy damage, so both horses are wounded. It's just that they haven't quite given up the fight yet. So that might, in turn, have them come back and attack the goblin. We'll see. Okay, so Goblin Blade number 1, the guy that was taken off, I believe. Yeah, Goblin Blade's 1. He's still taken off, so I'm going to have him move again. So he can move at least 20 feet through rough terrain. He has 30-foot movement. I'm going to open this up a little so we can see it better. So that's basically him taking off because he's hurt. He's almost dead, so probably bleeding. Okay, so the riding horse took off ahead. Riding horse number 1 is going to basically attack the goblin. The other one had gone around the corner, so I can move him actually to get him out of the way. So I'm going to take this token and drag it down here for now so I don't lose track of him. And he basically ran. So he took off on the side trail. And then the riding horse here is going to turn around and basically, or buck from behind, he's going to try to kick this goblin that just basically jabbed into his flanks. So I'm going to attack roll +5 on top of that goblin. Ooh! So the horse landed a blow, and his hooves come down on that little guy and pulverize him. Just caves in his chest and his head. So you just knocked him off right off his feet and put a big hole in his a big bruise basically in his chest. So he caved in his chest. This guy's dead now. So the horse got his revenge. The horse still has a little movement, so I think he's battle frenzied right now. So he's gonna move towards the other goblin just out of sheer panic and fright. But maybe he got a little confidence, I don't know, but animal instinct, who knows. So I'm just gonna move him toward the target and leave that because he doesn't have any more attacks, and that's his turn basically. So he's setting himself up to rear up and hit this other goblin. So the other riding horse basically gets spooked, like I said, from the Goblin Runt. So he ends up, making a decision. Is he going to keep going forward, or is he going to go backwards? So we'll see what happens. Yeah, so he rolled a 20 again. This is the luckiest horse ever. So he's basically running off the map. I mean, there's not much I can do about that. I've tried everything I can think of to keep him in the area, but he's running off the map, so there's not much I can do. So if that's the case, I'm going to remove him off the combat tracker, because there's no point in tracking him if there's no one around to interact with him, and it just gets annoying after a while. So that's something you'll learn over time. It's easier just to remove the attacker. Yeah, it sure is, Exilla. He's like the luckiest one on here. Okay, so Goblin Arrows 1, which is one of the archers, is basically next to this horse. He just got pummeled, or his friend just got pummeled. Let me look, maybe make sure. I thought he died. Oh, maybe it was the other one. So anyways, this guy is going to turn around and shoot. So I think a scimitar attack would be appropriate because his friend died and this horse is running at him. He's going to switch weapons. He's going to basically try to impale the horse as it's rearing up, and he does, and it basically jabs the horse right through its chest and does 6 points of damage to the horse. So that horse is really wounded. It only has 19 out of 22 hit points left, so that's crazy. So the goblin basically jabbed into the horse before it can rear down on him. So this other archer that's hiding in the woods, he still has a bead on Hallwinter. He doesn't know that, or Hallwinter doesn't know that he's still looking at him. So he's going to double click. He's already targeted Hallwinter. There's no obstacles really. I mean, if anything, you could maybe do a -2, but there's not enough there to really block his vision. So I'm going to go ahead and just give him the full attack. The Sildar wasn't fully out of range, but Sildar also has the dodge effect, so we'll see what happens. So I'm going to double click on the attack roll. Wow. So he rolled a 20. So it dropped a 20? Oh, never mind. He rolled a 20, but the it still hit, but the dice, the dodge action, turned it into a 17. So he rolled a 17 and a 20. How cool. So the dodge action actually helped a little bit, kept him from getting a critical hit. And now the damage. So he takes a little bit of damage on the back of his leg. He's like, ah, damn goblins! And he turns back and he sees that goblin jumping up and down on the bank next to the edge of the forest, kind of laughing at him and pointing, covering his mouth, you know, that sort of thing. But Gundren says, get in here! So he pulls Sildar in to the woods. So I'm just going to manually move this guy back here. So Gundren grabs him by the hand and pulls him in, and he does like a help action, which is basically he's helping him get away from the archers. So I don't think the help action would apply because it's advantage on checks, but you know, I'm going to give it to him anyway. So he's got the help action on him, and oh wait, I was supposed to drag that to somebody else, not him. So the help action actually goes to let's see, it says here, I can drag that to Sildar. There we go. So this was a blank effect, and I took the effect from the text and dragged it up on the person it was supposed to go to. So Gundren is basically just holding his ground. He says, hey, be careful, there's something coming. So he basically told Sildar, says, God dang it. It's like, what do we... He goes, I don't... Something's coming over here, too. I hear it. So he basically takes his time and moves through here, and he says, we got something over here, Gundren. Gundren probably moved back one, you know, on his turn, so that's where he's at. So the little goblin pauses, and he knows that he's, you know, at least he knows he's trying to hide. So I'm going to basically just wait there. He's going to hold his action. If anyone comes near him, he's going to use his little, he's got a little scimitar too. So he's basically just waiting in the bushes. Ambush is what he thinks. Okay, so the Goblin Blade, I'm going to move him off the map since he's basically, you know, he's just basically content with leaving. And I'm going to take him off the combat tracker. I think that's as far as I'm going to go. I'll play this out in part 4. So I don't want to make these too long, but basically we'll leave off where the riding horse gets its turn. And that'll be it for today. So I'll do a part 4, and we'll call it then. So I've been streaming for, you know, for a little while, so I don't want it to go on for too long. It's almost been an hour. I can't believe it. So anyways, I will talk to you again. Maybe the next couple days. I will run the rest of this combat. We'll resolve it, and we'll see what happens to the horse.